What's happening, Justin? JThorn64, and I have received your stickers. Keep on rocking in the free world.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
Keep on rocking in the free world.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Just Incredible here. How's it going? So, those of you that follow me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/Just Incredible TV, you'll see all sorts of news articles that I post up and media, a lot of it relating to RV life, van life, and quite often right here in the city, in Vancouver, things that kind of relate to it. And if you've been following my Facebook page, which now I believe, over 4,000 of you are, thank you very much, by the way, you would have seen the articles that I posted up back to back just a few days ago. There was a story of a young lady who lives in a Dodge Ram camper van who's actually renting it out on Airbnb, parked right on a city street for around $60 a night. And she put in her ad on Airbnb, you can live like the locals do here in Vancouver, because there's so many people living out of their vans and RVs. Unfortunately, that the city did crack down on her after that news story, because she is running a business on a city street, encouraging people to sleep in her van. So that wasn't too surprising. Was going to do an interview with her, but the city cracked down on her and they forced her to move her van. Now, there's a lot of news media about people choosing this lifestyle like myself. Like, I was on the news last year, you all saw that. I was on the radio, and many people that I've interviewed have also had a lot of media coverage doing this in the city. And that's not really a negative thing in my opinion, because all the stories have been spinning it as a positive thing. To live this lifestyle, that it's actually a viable alternative, a good choice. And the city hasn't come down on us because of that media, and I think that's more because it's not negative attention. Because, how do you put it? The media isn't putting it out there as us being a bunch of homeless bums. I know south of the border, I noticed just in Seattle, which is fairly close to Vancouver, it's a different story down there. Down there, it's more about the economy and the housing crisis that they had down in the States, which forced a lot of people into their campers and RVs. So you've got this big community of, I wouldn't still call them homeless, because they're not homeless, but they're definitely not the ones who chose to do this lifestyle just as an alternative way of living. And they squat on the streets with derelict vehicles. They don't take care of them. They don't move them around. That's a totally different demographic. That's like socialized welfare housing, apartment buildings full of people that don't take care of themselves and all that. That's kind of how I see a lot of that, right? But the people like me and the people that I've shown you on my channel over the years and done interviews with, a lot of us do this by choice just because it's an awesome way to live. It's a great feeling of freedom and sense of ownership. There are quite a few, though, that move into their vans because they're forced into the situation, such as with Emily, the girl that I interviewed on my last video. But she loves it, and she's taken to the lifestyle, and she doesn't have any plans on giving it up now. And that is the most common thing that I see when I meet people who were forced into this, is that almost all of them remain living this lifestyle, and they end up, it just ends up growing on them, and they love it, and they wish they had done it earlier. So I'm sure there's a lot of you out there with that situation as well. So these, Vancouver being so expensive, we have the most expensive real estate in all of North America. It's no secret. It costs a lot to live here. And it's not just the cost of the actual land, it's the cost of living as well. And so a lot of people are forced to live a couple hours away from the city of Vancouver, and they have to commute all the time to get, just because that's the only place they can afford. And every day there's news articles popping up on all the media outlets about this, and they like to try to spin people like me and other people living in their campers as being a byproduct of the housing crisis in Vancouver, when in reality for a lot of us it has nothing to do with the housing crisis in Vancouver. But you know what, I'll take it, because it's been pretty good so far. But just in the last week, for example, there's the story about the girl renting out her van. By the way, I guess she was couch surfing with a friend while she was renting out her van for $60 a night. Great idea, but better do that on private property, I'd say, if you're going to do that again. And then right after that, there's a story about a small bachelor suite in Vancouver near UBC that was going for rent for less than $1,000. And what happened? They had a lineup of over 40 students waiting to take a look at this suite, and sure enough, ends up in a bidding war. And that's very common in Vancouver, is you'll see ads on Craigslist for rental suites, and the price they list for your rent is the starting bid, and the landlords will take the highest offer. So just recently there was a 2-bedroom basement in Kitsilano, right near me, that went for $3,200 a month. The opening bid was much lower than that, but that was the highest offer that the landlord got. So, I mean, that's what's happening. It's not just you have to be a millionaire to buy a home in Vancouver, but even to rent, you've got to be ready to compete with all these other people and put in a bid and see if you win, basically. So that story came out right after the girl in her van story, and then the very next day, check this out: a walk-in closet is being advertised for $580 a month in downtown Vancouver. That's right, a single mattress in a closet. That's what you get for $580 a month in Vancouver. And I wouldn't be surprised if they end up getting more than they're asking as well. It's really that bad. I know a lot of you in the States keep saying, oh, your housing market is going to burst. The bubble's going to burst. You know what? People in Vancouver have been saying that since the mid-90s. And they're still renting because they're worried that the bubble was going to burst. One of the reasons it's different up here is, first of all, our banking system is quite a bit different and more stable, and our banks could absorb a big housing crash. Second of all, most of the money is not involving our banks in the first place. It's very wealthy foreigners buying up all our real estate. They're bringing in and paying cash. So our bank system has nothing to do with it. So it's a very different situation here at the moment. There's also a lot of money laundering going on, but that's a whole different subject, okay? So anyways, when I see this sort of thing, $580 a month for a walk-in closet, or lineups and bidding wars to rent basement suites, it seems to be that this is the more logical solution. And if the city of Vancouver and all other municipalities around Metro Vancouver were actually serious about tackling the housing crisis here in Vancouver, especially for students and people that have to work 3 jobs just to pay rent, they would encourage this lifestyle. Another story that just came out too last week was that it is now a whopping 90% of your average income to pay for housing in Vancouver. 90%. What's the 10% left over for? Food and bus fare? I mean, it's really bad for people out there. And I'm sitting here with a V10, driving around a V10 every day and jumping on ferries that cost me, $80 to get on a ferry to go to the island for the weekend. I go up to the ski hills on the weekend. It's because I have the expendable income now, because I'm not paying these insane prices just for a roof over my head. And for me, it just happened to be that way because I chose this lifestyle a long time ago. But now, ironically, it would probably be the only option. And it is the only option for a lot of people out there. But if the city was serious about tackling this, Gregor Robertson, the mayor of Vancouver, you'd open up a parking lot. Not a safe lot like they're doing down in the States for homeless people, but for people that choose to live this lifestyle, to park their RVs, their vans. Make a time limit. Make it a couple nights a week or something like that. Or make a couple of them so people have to move around. Make sure people don't squat there. Have some rules, of course, but don't make it too restrictive so people don't want to stay there. But you should open up parking lots. The universities should do that. UBC, definitely. There's already tons of people living in campers all around the university, so why not make it officially allowed? Give them a place to dump. You know what? Open up a dump station. It's not that hard. The government does it on highways, and gas stations do it. So open up a dump station, and then don't try to use the excuse that people are dumping their crap on the streets to kick us out of the city. Maybe if you made it a little easier, like you do for boats. People live on boats, they got free dumps. In the city of Vancouver, right in the harbor, you can dump your boat for free. But when it comes to an RV, you have to go find a private RV park or a private gas station that still has one and go use that. The city makes it hard. They don't support the lifestyle. Most governments don't like the freedom and the being off the grid aspect that we have going here. But you know what? If they did this, it would help a lot with the housing crisis, and people would have a place that they could park their van without worrying about being chased around by the city or officials or neighbors complaining and all the rest of that. Just do it. Tiny homes as well. I mean, this is a form of a tiny home, but there's other forms of tiny homes as well. Stop turning us into criminals just because we want to live a different type of lifestyle. We pay for the land that we occupy, I think, more than fairly. So, I haven't been harassed, but when I hear that people are still being harassed, a lot of the time it's because it's I have to say, it's their own fault. You don't move around, you squat on the street or you squat in a parking lot and you don't move every day, you're going to get in trouble. But I think the city should still, at least in certain areas, allow it. Even if it's quiet and it's unofficial, allow it, provide dump stations or provide a free place that people can fill up their water for a small fee or have a shower for people that don't have showers. It's such an easy and cheap solution, and it's a lot better than what's going on here when I see people lining up to live in a walk-in closet, and you're telling me that somebody like me that has my own solar power, my own house on wheels, that somehow this is a problem for you, for the city, or for politicians? It's really mind-boggling. So hey, Vancouver, why don't you be a leader in this and do something about it? Keep on rocking in the free world.